already established as a domestic powerhouse, JDT does want to show themselves to be an Asian club powerhouse in the East Zone where they can compete and stand shoulder to shoulder with the best of the Koreans, the Japanese and the Chinese clubs, and also perhaps in that competition with Buriram to see who is the most outstanding Southeast Asian club at the highest level of Asian club competition. A chapter was closed when Malaysian Super League champions Johor Darul Takzim announced its official release of 11 players last week. Among them were central midfielder Shafiq Rahim and goalkeepers Farizal Malias and Izam Tamizi. All three of them were part of the JDT squad that helped make history by becoming the first Malaysian club to win an Asian club competition when they lifted the AFC Cup in 2015. Along with the trio, 8 other players were also released. Ramadan Saifullah, who has now joined Kuching City on loan, and 7 foreigners. Jordi Amat, the Indonesian international defender, Murillo Henrique, Jesse Rodriguez, both of whom were signed at the start of last season, and this year's 4 mid-season signings, Brazilian midfielder Anselmo de Morales, and Spanish trio Jonathan Vieira, Alvaro Gonzalez, and Roque Mensah. Out of the 11 players who were released, the first 3 names mentioned were provided the foundations for the first wave of successes in the Southern Tigers' history as they help TMJ to conquer Malaysian club football, sweeping successive Malaysian Super League titles, a few Malaysian FA Cups, and 1 or 2 Malaysian Cups along the way. Among them was Shafiq Rahim, whom over 2 stints at the Southern Tigers has played more than 270 games. Let's see. Shafiq played more than 270 games where he netted a total of 59 goals and provided 68 assists. During his 2 spells in the club between 2013 to 2018 and again from 2021 to 2025, he has helped Johor Darul Takzim win a total of 9 Malaysian Super League titles, 7 Piala Subansings, 4 Piala Malaysia, 4 Malaysia FA Cups, and notably the AFC Cup success in 2015. In his first stint as a JDT player, Shafiq was not only just a creative force in the middle of the park, but he was also a leader in the squad, where he played a pivotal role in laying the foundation for the early success with his influence and dynamism in midfield, and notably at the peak of his career, his composure in front of goal, notably from the spots. In his second stint at the club, Shafiq's minutes were gradually reduced after coming back from a two-season stint with Malacca United. And even though his minutes were reduced, his experience, his understanding of the game was pivotal in providing the behind-the-scenes support and experience to help mentor a few younger players in the team and make them understand what it really meant to play for the Southern Tigers, to play for their club owner Tunku Ismail Ibrahim, the region of Johor. As for Farizal Malias, in his first season at the club in 2015, he made an instant impact, being an assured safe pair of hands, as he immediately helped the Southern Tigers win both the Malaysian Super League and also the AFC Cup that season with his sterling displays between the posts. His acrobatic saves, his assured judgment in front of goal, and also his command of the area were instrumental in laying the defensive foundation, the defensive pillar, as he became a stalwart in those years since his signing until Shihan Azmi was signed from Negeri Sembilan in 2023 and therefore was subsequently reduced to a bench player role. But even then, his experience proved to be as fundamental as he helped mentor Shihan and also laid the path for continued success in the goalkeeping department ahead. As for Izam Tamizi, the 34-year-old was also signed that season to be second choice under Farizal, but had made significant contribution back in 2017 as he stood in while Farizal Malias was injured and played a key role in Johor Darul Takzim achieving its Malaysian Super League success that season. Although these three have played fundamental roles in those early years of Johor Darul Takzim's success up to 2022 season, it was evidently become clear that age waited for no man. As they grew older, it was quite clear that their physical and you can say playing abilities started to show a little decline. And that was when the likes of Shihan Azmi and even when the Shihan Azmi, Arif Aimans began to emerge to become the new core of local born players for the Southern Tigers. They also knew that they were also in a way heading for the sunset, with the rather inevitable outcome of them exiting the club last week. And at the age where these three players who have played such a significant role in Johor's early years of success, particularly in the 2015 AFC Cup, Shafiq is 39 years old when he left the club, Farizal Malias 38 and Izam 34. And for their massive contributions in helping Johor establish themselves as a dominant force in Malaysian club football, Tanyaja expresses his appreciation for their work in the Malaysian club scene over those years. And even as I speak, Farizal and Izam are already preparing to groom the next generation of young goalkeepers to step forth, as they recently announced a goalkeeper masterclass or goalkeeping coaching camp to attract young goalkeepers to come and learn from the veterans themselves as they impart their skills, their game experience, and their know-how that is only uniquely specific for the goalkeeping department, for those goalkeepers who do aspire to reach to a new level or who do want to break through into the Malaysian Super League clubs. As for Shafiq, actually where his current whereabouts after leaving Johor Darul Takzim remains unknown, although it's possible that he may follow the footsteps of Aidil Safwan, who retired as a player last season and has become an assistant coach for the club at first and now for the Malaysian national team, or maybe follow Amri Yahya, continue to play football, and where he's still playing active football, another former Johor Darul Takzim player, where he continues to play football until the age of 40. Amri is still currently active in the Malaysian club football scene, just that he's no longer playing in the top tier but in the second tier semi-pro A1 league. Or he could also follow the footsteps of his former international teammate and ex-Southern Tiger Safi Salih, who has now established himself as a player ambassador, as a champion for player rights under the Professional Football Association of Malaysia. Given his unique experience both at club and country, Shafiq's insights into the game could be useful in helping players who are at the crossroads of their careers to determine where they want to go and which club will be most suitable in utilizing these assets, and possibly at the same time impart his skills and experience as an outstanding Malaysian football midfield icon to the next generation of young players who are seeking to follow his footsteps. As for Ramadan Saifullah, he has been on loan for last couple of seasons, and with his departure, he has turned his loan transfer into a permanent deal by joining Aidil Shahrin Sahak's side ahead of the new Malaysian Super League campaign. I've already now spoken about those 4 local born players. What about the remaining 7? In Jordi Amat's case, who first joined Johor Darul Takzim in 2022, initially only to play in the AFC Champions League, he made a massive contribution in the 2023 season as he actually played a total of 37 games and provided 5 assists in all competitions as the Southern Tigers made a clean sweep of the Malaysia Super League, Malaysia FA Cup and Piala Malaysia, and contributed significant amount of minutes as the key defensive stalwart. And however, in the last season, while he's still an active member of the squad, his numbers have reduced significantly, even as a couple of new foreign defenders were signed, particularly for the AFC Champions League Elite campaign, and subsequently also registered for the Malaysian domestic league campaigns as well, particularly Eddie Israfilov and Park Jun Hyung. These 2 defenders played crucial pivotal roles in last season's campaign, where they reached the knockout stage of the AFC Champions League Elite for only the 2nd time since 2022, and contributed immensely to their 3rd successive treble sweep, winning all 3 domestic competitions on offer. So with that significant drop in playing minutes and experiencing more time on the bench, it was perhaps a sensible option for the now 33-year-old Indonesia defender to make an exit and look for a new club where he can continue to extend his playing career and also make strong contributions ahead in his bid to secure a place at least for the 2027 Asian Cup finals, in which Indonesia have already qualified after reaching the 3rd round of World Cup Asia qualifying this year. Now, what about the rest? For Murillo, Henrique and Jesse Rodriguez, who was signed at the start of this season, for the last season rather, 24-25 season, Murillo's case was a little unfortunate. He started very brightly, and when he was registered mainly for the ACLE campaign, becoming a starter for almost all the games until he was red carded in the 0-0 draw with Buriram United at home on 3rd of December 2024 after 30 minutes of play, and thereafter he subsequently saw his minutes gradually decline with the 4 new mid-season signings at the start of this year. So although Murillo played significant minutes in the ACLE, he actually had minimal minutes in the Malaysian Super League and played only fringe roles in the latter stages of the Malaysia Cup. which was rather unfortunate because Murillo did initially catch the eye with his overlapping runs on the left, with his ability to provide to cause problems with his running, with his overlapping runs and his crossing and decision making down the left side on the pitch. And as the minutes continued to decline this year, towards the end of this season, it was possible that Murillo's future at the club was somehow coming to a close, which I personally feel is a huge pity given the displays he had at the start of this season. As for Jesse Rodriguez, although he scored 4 goals in a total of 4 goals from 13 matches in all competitions, including one in the ACLE, he never really lived up to that promise that he once showed, where he was a regular in La Liga when he came through from the Real Madrid academy and shown plenty of promise as a budding striker who was once touted as the next Raul Gonzalez or Fernando Morientes. It was actually lamentable how even his career at Johor had turned out. Even though he scored goals, but he rarely showed how a player of such experience, of such high caliber football education and exposure was able to fulfill or deliver, and I guess partially given his body shape and also his approach. His ability to score goals is without a doubt. His ability to create in the final third is of proven quality. It's just that Jesse was unable to reproduce the spark that made him once a regular at La Liga clubs. And he was unable to produce that type of form that probably JDT fans would have expected out of him, especially when he was signed with quite a bit of hype. The hype not seen since the signing of Pablo Aimar and Luciano Figueroa in 2014. And when it comes to even the standards that Luciano has set, Jesse has unfortunately produced far below what he can actually deliver, which is a pity because even with his age, Jesse can at least still plunder in a lot more goals than the 4 goals that he produced in all competitions last season. So with that in mind, I think it was justified that Jesse was released because he had not lived up to what his ability and career history had shown. And given that he was given a second chance to resuscitate his career in Southeast Asia, Jesse unfortunately did not play his part. Now, what about the 4 mid-season signings that came at the start of this year? I think overall it's quite clear that signing 4 new players in January wasn't the smartest of ideas after all. Even though among the 4, Roque Mensah, Alvaro Gonzalez, JDT made 5 signings. JDT made 5 mid-season signings. Out of the 5, only Samuel Castillejo is staying on for this season. The other 4, Anselmo, the Brazilian midfielder, and the veteran Spanish trio of Alvaro Gonzalez, Roque Mensah, and Jonathan Vieira were all released. Perhaps it's not really the best of ideas, even though I personally feel that Alvaro Gonzalez still has plenty to contribute at left back. That was why he easily displaced Murillo in the left back role or even in the left centre back role when required. Because at his age, at the age of 35, Alvaro still had plenty to offer, but when you integrate these 4 or 5 new signings at one go, particularly with the ACLE ambitions still in mind at that point of last season, it was perhaps given the extensive collective experience that these five had, I think even if I take away Anselmo, the four Spaniards had, it was a bit perhaps quite unfortunate that none of them were able to contribute immensely to beyond winning the last two league stage games of that season. But apart from Alvaro, Roque Meza got injured after the game against Central Coast and never featured again. Jonathan Vieira was unconvincing, despite even given his favourite left midfield role or even attacking midfield role ahead of Juan Muniz, given the reputation. Again, like Jesse Rodriguez, Jonathan Vieira did not live up to the hype, to the reputation that he had. So that was why these four players were released. Samu is staying on because he still has plenty to offer, and this is probably his first, that half season that he had was probably that half season he needed to blend in, to integrate into what could be a pivotal style play that where he can contribute on either wing. And having said quite a lot about all those departures, we look quickly at the new signings that Johor has made ahead of the upcoming 25-26 campaign. It is pretty clear that slightly younger faces are needed as Johor seeks to rejuvenate their championship winning squad ahead of the new season. And instead, while Alvaro was a credible mid-season signing, the age probably counted against him as JDT opted to sign John Irazabal, who recently made his Malaysian debut in that 4-0 win over Vietnam in the Asian Cup qualifier earlier this month. And they also signed another Spanish defender, Antonio Glauder from Cadiz in the Segunda Division. And Antonio is only 29 years old, while John Irazabal is 28. So they are at least 6 years younger than Alvaro Gonzalez, and they are able to at least contribute immensely in the defensive department for at least the next 3 to 4 meaningful seasons ahead of them. Then in midfield, they have also signed another heritage or naturalized Malaysian player, Hector Havel, who made his Harimau Malaya debut against Nepal in March this year. He was signed from Portimonense in the second tier in the Portuguese league system, and he's only 29 this year as well. Then you also have Nancho Mendes, who came from a free transfer from Sporting Gijon. Again, let me see where he is. He's only 27 years old. So there is a greater emphasis on slightly younger imports who bring some experience and quality football exposure into the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. And they have also signed a new forward, Jairo, who comes from the Cypriot First Division Paphos, and he's 33 years old, which goes slightly against the trend, but Jairo comes with plenty of experience playing in the Brazilian league as well as in leagues across Eastern Europe, in Greece, in Croatia, Slovenia, in Slovakia, and Cyprus. So he brings that wealth of experience in Europe and bolster the striking ranks, where we hope he's a better addition to where he can contribute more in front of goal alongside Bergson, Herberti, and Arif Aiman, and possibly be a better import than Jesse Rodriguez, who is a bigger name but has flattered to impress in the past season. And I think that approach in getting, you can say, experience, but not yet at the point where they are at the sunset of their careers, is a focal thinking point as Johor seek to not just extend their domestic dominance, but also attempt to break through into the quarterfinals of the ACLE for the first time, having failed in the round of 16 attempts back in 2022 when it was still known as the AFC Champions League, and last season 24-25 where they lost to Buriram 0-1 on aggregate. With these new signings, it's quite clear that there's a shift. It's not just getting veterans who can contribute for the short period of time, but also to push the existing players with the experience, with the talents that they bring onto the squad. And finally, with Malaysian leagues allowed to sign 15 foreign players this season, it means increased competition for places in the starting 11. And with the departure of 2 local veteran goalkeepers, Shihan Azmi is in for a very interesting season because for him, he's now going to be up against 2 Spanish-born goalkeepers. Christian Abba Ahmad, who came from Elche back in 2024, and Andoni Zubair, who was signed exclusively for the ACLE last season and played a pivotal role in them reaching the knockout stages of the competition. He is expected to be included in the Malaysian Super League squad list this season and will provide intense competition because Zubair's level is a lot higher than Shihan's. While I expect Shihan to still continue to play significant minutes in the Super League, his minutes could actually dip because of Zubair's talent, of Zubair's better goalkeeping positioning sense and reading of the game in his defensive third. That means Shihan has a lot to do to keep what has been probably for the last two seasons the undisputed first choice in the Malaysian Super League. So now that pressure is on Shihan Hazmi to show that he's not just there merely as Malaysia's number 1 goalkeeper, but a fight to stay as the top goalkeeper in a very strong Johor Darul Takzim's goalkeeping department. And with these new signings to replace the now departing majority of whom are veterans, some who have performed sterling service for the club over the years, a few who have performed credibly last season but fell a little short of the standards, and also 1 or 2 rather disappointing signings for the campaign. Let's hope that with these signings on board, and there might be a few more departures to come, because we do not know whether Shane Lowry is still staying among others, a few others, but it's pretty evident that with the squad that Johor has this season, we do expect another season of domestic dominance where they win yet another all 3 major trophies on offer, but with the heightened expectations that Johor can break through to reach at least the quarterfinals of the ACLE in 2026, when the knockout stages are once again held in Saudi Arabia, and fly the Malaysian flag higher than ever at this level of competition. I think already established as a domestic powerhouse, JDT does want to show themselves to be an Asian club powerhouse in the East Zone, where they can compete and stand shoulder to shoulder with the best of the Koreans, the Japanese and the Chinese clubs, and also perhaps in that competition with Buriram to see who is the most outstanding Southeast Asian club at the highest level of Asian club competition. And that is the one goal I do think that Johor do want to achieved this season after falling short last season at the previous campaign.